Good Old Games, GOG, the store known for dedicating to games preservation and DRM-free game downloads, has fallen to the machines by using an AI-generated banner to advertise their currently running New Year's sale. Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to still be made entirely by humans.
And we can choose to do that, right? At least we can. I don't know, though. It's feeling more and more inevitable as the days go by, and it just keeps getting shoved into every corner of existence. I opened Google Drive, and Gemini felt the need to summarize all the files there. I put them there. I know it. I don't need that, and I didn't ask for it, and I don't want to stop using my brain. Please.
Good Old Games New Year's sale kicked off just about a week ago, offering steep discounts on the new and old games. By the way, they always have fantastic discounts on that store.
They really do. They just got a slew of old Final Fantasy games. I'm very excited about that. They have discounts on Fallout 4, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Cyberpunk, of course. So lots to enjoy in there. Who doesn't like a game discount, right? Hooray! But not everyone was super fond of the banner art they used to advertise the sale on the front page.
So folks identified a lot of the telltale signs of AI-generated art. The Super Nintendo-ish console is melting into the table. Everything has a... I love these things. It's just so ridiculous. Everything has a scribbly outline look, and the individual relaxing in a beanbag is staring at the side/back of the TV.
Although people in Reddit theorized he was just looking out the window at the fireworks, so I don't know. There's room for interpretation here. But regardless of where that gentleman might be looking, we did get some kind of response/acknowledgement out of Good Old Games.
Yeah, that's right. There's a Good Old Games employee on the GOG forums, but the response is a tad different than you might expect, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, I'll try my best here. Kosmikna Pluskva? I'll try. I apologize in advance, but thank you for your work apologizing for slaughtering your username. They opened their post by disclosing that they are not an official spokesperson and are only commenting on this issue because they personally want to.
After that, they briefly confirm that the banner is fully AI and that, quote, "this is all I can say on this."
What? Then they say more. So much more. But, again, from a very personal perspective, and they make that clear, they kind of try to share some perspective about what's going on at Good Old Games or why this might have happened, and the reasons are pretty much what you'd expect.
So Cosmicna writes that their team is much smaller than it used to be. Everybody knows this. This is the same old refrain. And that the requirements for the role have changed significantly in the last 5 years.
Yeah, the expectations of productivity on every individual worker seem to be going up, driving everyone to this, whether they'd like to or not. The poster also then goes on a bit of a personal tear, describing their own personal distaste of AI art and sharing a lot of personal stories to back that up.
This includes lamentations around seeing AI art pop up in tourist gift shops and children's books, and they conclude by encouraging folks to continue voicing their displeasure with AI art, writing, quote, "In the face of a future we don't like to see, complacency is not the way."
I agree with that, and pretty rare for an employee, even in a personal way, to say like, hey, keep speaking up. We did this now, and I was maybe part of it and worked on it, but that doesn't mean I have to be happy about it. So yeah, as long as you voice your opinions in a very diplomatic and respectful way, which is what's happening here, this is great. Love to see it.
That's true. Also, Good Old Games, not the only online store with their hand in the AI cookie jar.
Yeah, this is really fascinating stuff. Steam recently revised their AI disclosure policies for developers, moving it from a single blanket question of, does this game use AI, to a much more nuanced spread of questions that kind of allow for AI to be involved in the dev process.
The end result is that games on Steam need to only disclose AI use if the end product ships with AI-generated assets or generates those assets via AI at runtime.
That's interesting, yes. So, accordingly, AI that's used in the developmental process, and they specifically say AI that's used for efficiency gains in the production process, not really considered here. So if you use AI to generate code or even art in the concepting phases of a game, as long as it doesn't ship with those assets in the final game, you don't really need to disclose that AI was involved with the process, only if it's customer facing in the end product.
Interesting. Baldur's Gate 3 developers Larian Games recently endured the internet's scorn for describing using AI development tools in exactly this way. We reported on this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they described using it for concepting and that AI assets would not go into the final game. So by the current disclosure rules of Steam, they wouldn't have to disclose that it is an AI-produced game. So that's a fun little twist. Also a sign of the changing times, I think.
Still, Larian Games CEO Sven Vinke pledged to avoid using generative AI tools to create concept art in a recent Reddit AMA. So I guess that's kind of where we're drawing the line here for video games, is not generating AI art that is seen by the customer when you're playing.
That's where Steam's drawing the line, at least when it comes to disclosure. As far as individuals, this is a really interesting, sensitive, and seemingly inevitable topic that I guess we're all going to have to make our peace with eventually. I don't know. I guess you vote with your wallet. I think the problem is I keep thinking about the early days of computer generation in film. It looked like garbage and was bad, but it was everywhere in the 2000s. But eventually it got better. It got so much better that you know, properly used, you can't really tell it's there at all. And we're in that garbage, ugly early phase of film effects. I'm not convinced that the proliferation of computer graphics has made films better. It's certainly made them cheaper to make, and you can certainly see some imagery in films that would just not be possible to create in any practical sense. So there's new and different films, not quite better. So I don't know if I don't know if I like or I'm excited about where this is headed for games. I'm sure we'll see a load of games. I'm not quite sure they'll be better. They will be different. Something may be lost along the way, kind of like with film. You know, we don't get our Bram Stoker's Draculas filled with practical effects end to end anymore. So as far as where the line is drawn, I lament it, but the machine of capitalism can't be stopped with sentiment, I suppose. And it's driving so much of this. This worker even said themselves, our team is smaller, we have to do more. There's no other option. And hey, if that allows a company like Good Old Games to survive, because I've often been scared that they will fall beneath the waterline for CD Projekt, and to a degree they may have, because they were recently sold off. So if this helps them stay alive and helps them stay competitive, then I'd rather that than them going out of business on a principle.
So to your point about CG in film, this is something that I've seen in our comments and I've seen people mention, is that CG in film still had to be made by a human. Obviously, a computer, you know, does the thing that the human tells it to do. Whereas with AI and generative art, supposedly the prompt into AI isn't as much work as, for example, if you had to make the CG in a film. And so there's an interesting line there where supposedly people are saying, well, there's more artistic merit in the CG, even if it's bad, versus AI generated art, where it's just like I just typed in a sentence and then AI made it. And I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I have a response to that. I don't know if you
Sure,
want
sure, please.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
That's what technology does. At the time, it would have employed way more people to try to do a CG stunt fully practically, or employ the old techniques. And there's a whole skill set that was valued and suddenly started to become invalidated because of this new technology. So yes, it still required people, but less people than it required before. And if you look closer at the film industry, you see all kinds of problems about offloading CG work, outsourcing it, hiring the cheapest bidder, forcing them to overwork. That technology, while yes, money still went into human hands, it went into fewer hands that were working in a different way and working harder than before. And that's like, it's not apples to apples because it's about 30 years apart, but it's still the same story of technology. It allows fewer, it's a labor multiplier, and that disrupts the market as it is.
No, you're absolutely right, Lawrence. And that's, like I said, it's just something that I've seen in the comments that people are like, well, CG is art, and then AI generated art is not art.
It's technology we've all gotten used to and accepted is the difference.
Well, for sure. And for me personally, I don't see AI art as art. I don't, because it's not made by a human. So for me, that's the number one thing. It's obviously was made by literally millions of humans, because the AI LLM puts it all together, and that was all art that was probably made by somebody, and then they mashed it all together, and then AI made it. So there's this weird line that we're all apparently trying to navigate here. And I see by the way, just so you know, in the Inside Games videos, I've seen fantastic comments debating whether or not we should support AI here or there, or whether or not we should be supporting AI at all. And I appreciate all of those comments. They're great. This is a good debate to have, because I personally think at the very end of the day, a bunch of CEOs are pushing this because it makes them more money with less effort, more money with less workers. And I don't like that. So speaking generally, I usually will say, I'd rather not with AI, kind of put my hand up to it and be like, no, thank you, because I've got a bunch of trillionaires telling me it's going to save a bunch of money. Well, I don't fucking care if it saves them money. It doesn't matter to me at all. I would much rather they spend money on people than on AI.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I think if there's an entire economy fueling bubble that's requiring the mass adoption of a technology, that's reason enough to kind of wrinkle your nose at it. I think that you can trust yourself and your soul to resonate with good art. And good art can't exist without humanity, and humanity's kind of required because we're all humans. I'd like to think so. So you can take Expedition 33 as a very early example of a game that did use generative AI, and it even shipped with AI assets that were later swapped out for bespoke assets. But there's still a powerful artistic soul to that game that wasn't invalidated because it used maybe a less human technique in the process. And when you play it, you can feel that. The music feels that way, the art feels that way, the characters feel that way, the performance of the characters. There is a human soul and a powerful artistic core to that game that, yeah, the inclusion of AI did not invalidate. And I think that will be the case going forward. It's the case with film. You can make a great film with CG. You can make a garbage film that's also all CG. The human artistry is what tells the difference. I just worry. I trust myself in that, and I'm not too scared about losing my mooring in all this. What scares me is mass market stuff. I think soulless AI media will be good enough for most people, or they will not have the conversation with their own humanity to really tell the difference. But then again, hey, I'm describing something that's been happening in the human experience for millennia of the idiot masses just eating their slop and going home and not questioning their existence, and good art falling by the wayside or being underappreciated in its time. So it brings me some comfort to think that a lot of the issues I feel right now, I've seen happen throughout history, and the human experience endures, or at least it has so far.
I completely agree with you, Lawrence. All really, really good stuff to think about. And again, thank you for the comments in the videos, because they've been great, so keep them up. Thank you very much for watching Inside Games as well. From one human to another. Hopefully there's no bots watching. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do. And if you are a bot, I guess, thank you for the view. We got to take them where we can take them. We'd like to shout out some extra special humans in the audience that support our Patreon. So an extra warm, squishy, fleshy thank you to John Sennett, Worst Donut, UESC Battleroid, and JAmbers87 for being stalwart supporters of the bravest, most human gaming coverage around. Thank you very much, and please check out our Patreon if you like our coverage. I hand select a human-created meme every day and attach it with the article. Sometimes it's even topical. I'll try to find something robot-related for this one. That'll be fun. But yeah, give it a look, and thank you very much for your time. We'll see you next time on Inside Games.